Today, we're excited to announce Babbily 1.03. When we started Babbily 2 years ago, it was a simple prompt platform. That was Babbily 1.0, or at least what we're calling Babbily 1.0 now. Babbily 1.01 was our move into chat, and Babbily 1.02, which we launched in November, was the beginning of a much more capable chat platform. Today, with Babbily 1.03, we're taking the next step forward. The main idea is simple. AI should get more powerful without asking the user to become more technical. That has been one of the hard parts of building in this space. That models are improving quickly, but the products around them often become more complicated. More model choices, more tools, more settings, more connectors, more decisions, more AI definitions that you need to learn. For a small group of power users, that's really exciting. But for most people, it becomes friction, and friction matters. A lot of people have tried AI. Far fewer use it every day. We've seen estimates that only around 19% of people use AI daily. And regardless of that exact number, the broader point is clear. AI has not yet become a daily habit for most people. We think the next step is to not expose more complexity. It's to build a system that handles more of the complexity for the user. And that's exactly what Babbily 1.03 is. We've rebuilt a major part of the platform around four new pillars that you can use within Babbily: tools, skills, memory, and connectors. Tools and skills let Babbly do more than just write. Memory helps Babbly understand useful context about you over time. Connectors let Babbly securely connect to the tools and systems you use every day, like Gmail, Outlook, Notion. And auto mode brings those pieces together so the experience can still feel really simple for our not so advanced users. The goal is to make Babbly feel less like a chatbot that you have to operate and more like an AI studio, a place where you can explore ideas, research deeply, use tools, connect your work, remember context, and turn information into action. So let's dive in. When you open Babbly, it still starts with something really similar and something really familiar, a place to ask for help. That's intentional. The product is becoming much more capable underneath the hood, but the front door should still feel really simple. The first thing to understand about Babbly 1.03 is what now happens behind that simple chat box, and that starts with auto mode. Most people don't want to operate an AI system. They want to get something done and get something done really quickly. But as AI becomes more capable, users are often asked to make more decisions up front before they can even start. Which model should I use? Should search be on? Do I need a tool? Do I need a connector? What are tools and connectors? What are skills? Should memory help here? Is this a quick answer? Is this a deep research task? That's not the experience we want. In Babbly 1.03, auto mode sits above the models, tools, skills, memories, and connectors. It looks at the request, it looks at the capabilities of Babbly, and then it makes the right capabilities available for that response. That's a hard problem in a multi-model product. Different models support different things. Some are better for research, some support tool use, some support media, some tools only make sense in certain contexts. Some capabilities should be automatic, others should require explicit user consent. Babbly now handles much of that routing behind the scenes, so you don't have to worry about it. The user can ask naturally, and Babbly can decide whether to answer directly, search the web, use a tool, use a memory, or bring in a connector. There's still control when people want it. Manual mode lets you choose a specific tool. This is going to be what we feel the pathway forward for most advanced users. You know what skills are, you know how to incorporate them, you want more control over your ultimate response. Off mode gives you a plain model response with no tools. So you want to talk directly to the LLM. I want no influence, I want no harness, I want to talk directly to ChatGPT. But the default experience we care about most is going to be that auto mode because we feel like that becomes useful to most people. Auto mode is about one thing. Babbly will absorb the complexity. You don't have to. One of the clearest examples of this new system is going to be finance research. A lot of business questions are not just general knowledge questions. They involve companies, markets, competitors, financial performance, recent news, risks, and trends. A normal chatbot answer is often not enough to answer and check those boxes for you. You need current information, you need financial context, you need the system to explain what the information actually means. That's what financial research is for. With financial research, Babbly can help people understand public companies, compare businesses, summarize financial news, and turn that information into something that you can use every day. The important thing here is not just retrieval, it's interpretation. If you're preparing for a sales call, if you're evaluating a company, watching a market, researching competitors, or trying to understand the financial side of business, Babbly can now help with that directly inside the chat. And because it happens in the same conversation, you can keep going and you can ask follow-ups. You can ask it to Simplify the answer, make it client ready, turn it into a memo, explain it like you're a 2-year-old, or give you the top takeaways. Finance research makes Babbly useful for the kinds of company, market, and competitor questions that come up in real business financial research. But that's just a specialized path. Search in general is broader. A lot of what people need from AI is everyday and it has to be current. What was the score of the Kentucky basketball game? Is this movie still in theaters? What changed with this product? What are people saying about this trend? What are the best options for something I'm trying to figure out? That is where web search matters. Search makes Babbly useful for questions when the answer changes over time, or where a model should not rely on what it already knows. Not every question needs a research report. Sometimes you just need a current answer. And we've made a lot of enhancements here. Now, anytime you use a search tool, you'll see that it pulls the citations faster. You'll see that it pulls the citations more accurately, and it also brings in search images as well. Deep research is different. Deep research is for the questions that need more than just a quick answer. Understanding a software category, comparing vendors, researching a regulation, learning a new market, taking a messy question and turning it into a structured starting point. Science related questions, legal related questions. The distinction is simple. Search is for current answers, deep research is for deeper understanding. Together, they make Babbly useful for both quick lookups and bigger research tasks. The goal is to make research feel less like opening 10 tabs and more like starting a focused conversation. Babbly 1.03 is the first release where tools and skills also become a real part of the product. That changes what Babbly is and ultimately how Babbly works. Before this, Babbly was mostly just a chat experience. You picked a model, you asked a question, you got an answer. Now Babbly can do much more than just respond. It can use tools and skills to help complete the task. That includes finance research, web search, deep research, website mapping, weather, stats, generating QR codes, image generation, video generation, sending emails out of Gmail, building task boards out of Notion or Monday. The important thing is that these should not feel like separate apps. They should feel native to the conversation. If someone asks for a QR code, Babbly should know how to create one. If someone asks for the weather, it should know how to check the forecast. If someone asks for an image or a video, it should know when to use the media tools. That is why this harness matters. It gives Babbly a way to understand what capabilities are available, which ones fit the request, and how to make them available without making the user manage everything manually. The best tools disappear into the experience. You ask for the outcome, and the system figures out how to help. The next really exciting part of Babbly 1.03 is going to be the memory layer. Most AI conversations start from zero. You explain your company, you explain your role, you explain your preferences, you explain the format you want, you explain who you are. Then the next conversation starts and you do it all over again. And that's not how an AI studio should feel. Babbly 1.03 introduces a more serious memory foundation. We've implemented Supermemory AI as the underlying memory layer, and then we build our own Babbly layer on top of that. So what does that mean? Supermemory gives us the foundation for storing, searching, retrieving, and managing memory. But Babbly is not just plugging in memory and stopping there. We are building the product experience around it. Our Babbly layer adds structure, controls, profile logic, memory citations, user-specific organization, and a memory experience designed around how people actually use Babbly. Supermemory is also continuing to push the memory layer forward with things like dynamic dreaming. Our job is to make that kind of memory infrastructure useful inside a customer-facing AI studio. For customers, the value is simple. Babbly should understand more context about you over time. You should have to repeat yourself less. The assistant should remember useful things about your company, your role, your preferences, your projects, and your workflows. And memory should not feel like a black box. It should be structured, cited, controllable, and useful. Memory is what makes Babbly much more personal, more useful, and less repetitive over time. And the fourth pillar in Babbly 1.03 that we're really, really excited that we can finally bring to you is connectors. Connectors are our customer-facing word for a more technical term, MCPs. They are how Babbly starts to connect with tools and systems that you're already using. This matters because a lot of useful work does not live in a blank chat window. It lives in documents, apps, CRMs, inboxes, calendars, databases, project tools, and internal systems. Connectors are the path toward bringing approved context and approved actions into Babbly, but this has to be done really carefully. Connections need to be secure. They need to be manageable. They need to be tied to the right user. They need to avoid exposing raw credentials. They need to know which tools are available and they need to stay reliable. That is why Babbly uses Smithery as our secure connection layer for connectors. The way to think about it is simple. Babbly is the AI studio. Connectors are how Babbly reaches approved external tools, and Smithery helps power that secure connection layer. The long-term experience is that users should not have to copy information from one tool, paste it into another tool, and then ask AI to summarize it. Babbly should be able to work more naturally with the systems you already use about. For example, what are the last 5 emails I received in my Gmail account? Okay, now summarize those. Send an email to an employee. Build a Monday board. Add this task to the Monday board. Connectors are what allow Babbly to move from answering questions to helping with real workflows. As Babbly takes on more complex work, the product has to get better at showing what is happening. Some tasks are instant, others take time. Deep research can take a lot of time. Finance research can take time. Image and video generation can take time, and connectors can take time. If the product is silent during that work, it creates doubt. Did it freeze? Is tool running? Is this tool running? Did something fail? Babbly 1.03 improves the experience around tool progress, polling, diagnostics, async work, and loading states. When Babbly is doing something more complex, the user should have a clear sense that the assistant is working. This matters because the more capable AI becomes, the more often it will do work that takes more than a second. The product has to make that feel understandable. When Babbly is doing the heavier work, the experience should feel calm, clear, reliable, and you should always know that it's working and that it hasn't aired out. There's one more part of the experience that matters a lot, and that's might be the most important part, and that's the output. As Babbly gets more capable, it can show more than text. It can show sources, widgets, maps, charts, code blocks, artifacts, and other structured outputs. But more output is not always better. If widgets appear at the wrong time, the product feels noisy. If maps or weather cards show up when they're not needed, the product feels unpredictable. If code or diffs get duplicated, the answer feels clustered. So Babbly 1.03 tightens how these outputs are handled. The product is moving toward more intentional artifacts. When something visual or structured appears, it should feel like it belongs there. The goal is to not make everything extremely flashy. The goal is to make the right answer crystal clear. Babbly should show more when more helps and stay simple when simple is better. Everything I've talked about is customer facing, but underneath it, Babbly 1.03 is also a foundation release. We are improving reporting, tool validation, memory storage, long running async flows, integration reliability, and deployment readiness. That matters because Babbly is becoming more than a chat interface. It is becoming an AI studio that can use models, tools, skills, memories, connectors, and external systems together. As the product becomes more capable, the foundation underneath it has to become stronger. And Babbly 1.03 gives us that foundation to keep making the product more useful without making it harder to use. So the simplest way to describe Babbly 1.03 is this. Babbly is becoming more powerful, but the experience is becoming simpler. Auto mode hides from the complexity. Finance research makes Babbly more useful for company, market, and competitor work. Search helps with current everyday questions. Deep research helps turn broad questions into structured understanding. Tools and skills let Babbly do more than just respond. Memory helps Babbly understand more context over time. Connectors help Babbly work with tools and systems that you're already using. And the product experience is getting clearer, cleaner, and more reliable for the long running work. This matters because AI is still too complicated for most people. If only a minority of people use AI every day, the answer is not to give them more settings to manage. The answer is to build a system around them. That's what Babbly 1.03 is. It's a step toward an AI studio that understands what you're trying to do, brings in the right capabilities, remembers useful context, connects securely to the tools you use, and helps turn information into action. That is Babbly 1.03.